You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Good afternoon, not evening, good afternoon, and welcome to this special edition of An Hour with Bob with a longtime friend. I was going to say old friend, but she's not old. I am. She's not old. But I remember when she started on NBC 10, I think 25 years ago. I think I'm right. And Barbara Morse, did you start 25 years ago?
24 and a half years ago.
Okay,
It'll
I was
be
close.
25 in June of 2020.
Wow.
That'll be the quarter of a century mark.
Well, how nice to see you again.
Same here. I see you out a lot at different events. So.
Well, we met up at the Gloria Gemma event.
Isn't that a great organization?
That's awesome.
Oh, I just
awesome.
love them so much.
Yeah. How do you like that band? Rugburn was playing that night.
I thought they were good, but did you see the band outside
Yes,
from Montreal?
yes.
I was sitting outside listening to them. I thought they were both good, but probably the one that was just because they had full instrumentals.
Oh, they had everything.
And my dad's a musician. I loved that full instrumental.
Well, they must have had 15 people there.
Oh, they were absolutely amazing. So we sat outside and listened to them, and then came in and listened to the band inside. So it was the best of both worlds.
Yeah, I love Rugburn. For a local band there, excellent. Now, Montreal, have you ever been up there?
I have.
Have you ever been to the Jazz Festival?
I have not.
Oh, you're missing something. If you
I
like
know.
music.
I don't even go to our jazz festival anymore just because it's so packed.
Right.
You know, I love jazz music. Absolutely love it.
Well, then you'd like Montreal because the reason why there's more people, but it's on the lower end of St. Catherine Street. They take over the whole street. So it just goes on and on. You know, there's one act after the other. And there have some acts that are inside, but most of them are outside and on fields on either side and on the street. So it's not as packed.
So it's a bucket list item now.
Yeah. Oh, it's a great thing. And folks, it's a 7-hour drive. I go to Montreal.
It's not that bad, no.
No.
Driving to Canada?
Oh, good.
No.
Well, when my son Zachary was living in Milton, Vermont, which is 12 miles from the Canadian border, she must have taken a map and said, where can I go the furthest away from
Without
Bob?
being in Canada.
Yeah, without being in Canada. And not only is it in Vermont, but it's in western Vermont, bordering in New York. And
But that's a beautiful area.
Oh,
up
it is.
there.
Nice area, but not in the dead of winter, it isn't.
No.
One year I did 31 trips in 1 year. And I used to leave here on a Friday morning when I was living in East Greenwich. I left at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd get there just before he got out of school, 3 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
Pick him up and drive back here. And we'd get here, especially in the summertime, or even the nice weather in the fall, we get here at, 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. I just drove 11 and a half hours. And he'd go, Dad, can we go like down Thayer Street? Or can we go here? Can we
Let's
go
get
there?
back in the car.
I want to go to sleep.
I know.
You know?
I don't blame you.
But that was the area, like you said, is beautiful. You know, they live right. St. Lawrence Seaway was right there, but many times I would go up on a Thursday night and spend the night in Montreal.
Wow. Oh, that's perfect.
Yeah, because it broke it up a bit and it made it a little easier on me. And I get up Friday morning. I go to this one restaurant. They had this great restaurant in Montreal, great breakfast, and Egg Celebration or something like it was called.
That's cute.
There's a bunch of them in Canada. And I'd go there, had an awesome breakfast, and then I'd shoot to Milton, Vermont, pick them up, and it was a little easier to handle because now I'm only driving 5.5 hours.
Right. Yeah, I used to go to Canada all the time as a child. We lived in Detroit, So we would just take the tunnel to Windsor, Ontario. So we were always, I was on the Bozo the Clown show when I was a little kid in Canada.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, was that a different Bozo than the one in Boston?
I get confused because there are a lot of them?
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that was a one guy thing.
I think we thought it was ours. You thought it was yours.
Right, yeah.
I don't know. I just know as a kid that I was on the Bozo the Clown show.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in different areas. I was born in Ohio, small place called Zanesville, Ohio, the home of the only Y bridge in the country.
Y bridge?
Y bridge. It's shaped like a Y.
Really?
It goes here, and then you can go here or here. And in fact, my grandfather's church was right down the street, and they named the street after my grandfather.
Wow.
Reverend George Washington Morse. I know. He was born on George Washington's birthday, so it does make sense.
Yeah.
But then I grew up in Detroit up until like 7th grade, and then we moved to Indianapolis.
Oh, wow.
So I more consider Indianapolis home because that's where...
I like Indianapolis.
Although I still keep in touch with my friends from Detroit. I mean, I knew them in middle school and in elementary school, and you reconnect on Facebook. So now
now it's great, yeah.
So they're like, oh, yeah, Detroit in the house, you know. So, and my dad wrote for Motown, so, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah, back in the day.
And how did you end up in Rhode Island?
Let's see. How did I end up in Rhode Island? My husband at the time got a job at Channel 6, so I came out here with him.
Oh. What do you do for Channel 6?
I was basically an associate producer. Even though I'd worked in TV, they didn't hire me to be on camera. So I worked as an associate producer writing.
Right.
And then they'd let me fill in once in a while on the air. It's like, okay, I have a few years of experience.
Yeah.
And then I got a job at Channel 56 in Boston as an on-air reporter.
Wow.
So, yeah. Not much of a break at 6, but in Boston, I was there for 5 years and absolutely loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Loved it.
And that's where you met a lot of people that you end up running into again.
Absolutely. Mario Hilario was an intern there. And then I remember running into him again at Brockton Cable. I had to go pick up a tape.
Brockton Cable?
Brockton Cable.
Oh, cable.
The cable station.
Yep.
And I'm like, Mario, what are you doing here? And then I came to Channel 10, and who's there? Mario. Yes.
Well, you guys have been friends forever.
Oh, we're best friends. He's my youngest daughter's godfather. They're really close. Bill Rapley, I've known since Channel 6 days. He followed me to 56. He followed me to Channel 10.
Wow.
So there's a few of us that have been, you know, kind of leapfrogging in the same direction for many years.
That's
right?
Unbelievable. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. A quarter of a century. That's big, though.
Yeah, I've been there a long time, Bob. You know, somebody's got to do it.
Well, there's only a few that have been there longer than you on 10.
Patrice.
Yeah.
Gene.
Gene and
Frank Carpano. RJ.
RJ's been there longer than you.
I know. He's been there 26 to my almost 25.
Really?
So not too much before me. Gene, not too much before me either. Frank Carpano, Patrice, obviously have been there forever. They've made their whole career there. They're wonderful. And they'll probably never retire, which is fine because people love them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so.
And Doug White.
Yeah. Oh, miss Doug White.
Yeah.
He was great. He was just great. He had a very interesting sense of humor. I remember when I brought in a guy I was dating one time, and they let me fill in with him on the anchor desk a few times. I'm like, you sure me with Doug? He's awesome. So I brought in this guy I was dating at the time, and Doug says, I have one word for you. And he's like, yes. You know, he was like so excited that Doug was talking to him. He said, run! It's like, okay, thank you, Doug. Thank you. That's his sense of humor. That was his sense of humor. He was just a role model, amazing. Miss him a lot.
Yeah.
Miss Jim Terracani, we just lost him.
Yeah, exactly.
What a legend to work with. And in watching the retrospectives on him, I didn't even realize how much he had accomplished in life. But what?
Well, he was the first big guy as far
absolutely,
as
but you don't.
Investigative reporter.
But you work with him every day, and you're like, you know,
Yeah,
great guy.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like, hey, Barb, hey, Jim, and it only hits you later that you were
With a legend.
in greatness. You were in the presence of greatness.
Yep.
Just an amazing, amazing person. So I've been lucky in my career to have worked with legends, and I mean, literally legends.
Yeah.
So, yeah, life is good.
And Gene, do you know he holds the record on this show?
Holds the record?
He's been on this show more than anybody.
Really?
Yeah.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah.
Because Gene likes being on TV.
He does. He does.
And the radio.
And you know what I thought was odd back in the day? He was on here when he first came on, when he was probably with
With the
Channel 10.
mustache?
I was going to say that, with the mustache and his long jacket.
Yeah.
When he was intimidating people, when he was going on investigative reports and stuff.
Why'd you do it?
Yeah. I remember him doing a report on the health department. Some place was got nailed by the health department. He went in there.
Right.
And it just scares the daylights out of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, a lot of legends are still working there, so.
Well, it's the mainstay station, Channel 10.
I think
right?
so. And we've brought in a lot of new people, and they're amazingly talented. I love where I work. It's not everyone who can say, oh, I want to go into work today. But I absolutely look forward to going into work. I work Thursday through Sunday, which is the best schedule. It's 4 10-hour days.
Yeah.
3 days off a week.
Wow, that's nice.
But-
It's like a fireman.
Right. But I get to do all my health stories. And to me, health is so important.
I was going to get into that, yeah.
I think I'm the only health reporter in this market. Well, somewhat dedicated to it. But just the breakthroughs that are out there and the stories to be told, I absolutely love it. And then what I do, anchoring weekend nights, I'll put together some of my health check stories that will air the following week. So, I kind of have the best of both worlds because I enjoy anchoring. I think it shows a little bit of personality. Whereas health, you're pretty straightforward and you're telling the story. The best of, I'm one of those people.
Well, you get a little more leeway than everybody else.
Well, I choose my stories. Right. I mean, once in a while they'll say, Barb, you need to do a story on this. I'm like, oh, absolutely. Let me set that up.
Right.
But I get to choose. I've done stories on Alzheimer's caregivers, which is so important. My dad has Alzheimer's. My aunt has Alzheimer's. My grandmother died of Alzheimer's. It runs in families. So what's the impact on caregivers? And it's a huge impact.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, you're
to think that they don't recognize you or know you when
Right.
you're in front of somebody, that's got to be terrible.
It's tough. So, doing stories on, caregivers' rights and getting more research and just more support and more nursing homes that will take people with memory problems. We have a shortage of that. So it's good to do like meaty stories like that. The opioid problem, it's humongous. And I said in one of my reports, my mother died of an accidental overdose. So I know the impact of this directly. It impacts the entire family. I was 16 when my mom died, and my brother and sister were younger. And your mom's gone, and you're like, she shouldn't be gone because of this ugly illness. And it's an illness. It's a brain disease. So I'm very passionate about that, mental health issues. I think I'm passionate about the things that impact me, but they impact so many people that you need to be passionate about these things and get the message out. And how can people get help and get better? Nobody wants to be depressed.
Right.
Nobody wants to have bipolar disorder, which is what my mom had. Nobody wants these illnesses. So why don't we help them?
And you feel bad when you can't help them. I had a friend just this morning call me. He was supposed to help me in the house. I'm just moving in my house, and he says, I can't. I just can't get out of this funk.
Sometimes you have to just be there. I have a friend who's like that too, and she says, oh, don't come by today. So what do I do? I came by.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was right before here, because I just want to make sure they're okay. What can I make for you?
Right.
You don't want people to get so hopeless. And it's so easy to get
yes.
there
and
because of
then
circumstances.
They do something wrong.
Yeah, because of circumstances. You don't want to live with that. Now, if you've done everything you possibly can, I had a friend who died from overdose, left a letter. She did it on purpose. And it just, we had been there for her all the time and tried to help her, but then, ultimately we could not.
Right.
But if you stop trying, then that's wrong. You know, they talk about Narcan. I carry Narcan in my purse in case someone overdoses.
Right.
We need to be ready. I mean, most people who die of overdose don't want to die. They're either getting something laced with fentanyl, or, you know, they've just taken too much because they want to feel euphoric, and that too much is enough to...
Well, talking about that, I ran into a couple women at the Federal Hill Festival the other day, and they were talking about that very thing. This woman had some serious health problems, and she's on heavy medication, and she said it's awful how it's you're almost treated like a criminal, even if you're legit trying to get medication.
And that's the fine balance. And doctors, you know, they don't want the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, breathing down their neck because they're giving too many opioids. You know, what are some alternatives? It's a fine line on the whole opioid problem, but there are alternatives, or simply just not starting them to begin with,
Right.
and trying to do something else. I do feel badly because there is a major grassroots effort, because there are people who really and truly do need them and they're not getting them.
Right.
And that can make you
somebody with
depressed
chronic
and
pain.
despondent. Exactly. So it is a fine line, and that's something I want to tackle too, is where is that fine line? Why does Bob get addicted when you take Percocet, but I don't?
Right.
We both had total knee replacements. We were both on painkillers.
Right.
You know, why didn't I say, oh, I can't stop taking these? And let's say you're like, oh, I'm good. I just need them for the pain. I'm done.
Right.
Something, you know, it's something flips in your brain, and
or if the pain, the operation didn't go well, and you're
I
in
understand
serious
that,
pain.
but it's when you crave it, and that was the case with my mom. She just couldn't. She needed to mask her symptoms and feel better, and whatever that was to make her feel better is what she had to take. And that's, you know, I don't know. It's just one of those things. We come up with policies. We do this, but are the policies really in the best interest of everyone? I don't know.
Right.
It's something we really need to get a think tank on and really discuss, you know, who are the people who are truly in chronic pain and this is the only hope for them. What are some of the alternatives? You have to think about people who don't have the money for a lot of these alternatives. They say
Right.
acupuncture or different things. So what do we do about the folks who can't afford that? They might be on Medicare or Medicaid. So what can we do for those folks? It's a huge topic, and it can be overwhelming if you let it be, but I think we just need to take little bits at a time and really discuss this and what's the best for, you know, the community.
What's that Tolton, that was it, CBD?
CBD oil.
Oil? Mm-hmm. Is that legit? Is that?
You know, I have taken CBD oil for pain because I'm in chronic pain. I mostly get trigger point injections and epidurals. A drunk driver hit me 9 years ago.
Oh, I got hit. I got a titanium plate in my neck.
And you know that chronic pain thing.
Oh, I do.
But I also know my history, and I don't want to be on opioids.
Right.
So I go in for all of these alternatives, but I can afford to. I have good health insurance.
Sure.
But what's the answer for people who don't, and they can't afford it? So, yeah. I guess I'm a little passionate about a lot of things.
Yeah. I got one med. It was the copay's $800.
Yeah, see, that's ridiculous too. Some of these copays for medications that are helpful to people, and then they can't afford it. Or seniors who have to split their medication because they can't afford it.
Right. Yeah.
There are so many different. I don't think I'll ever retire because I have too many topics to talk about. But there's so much out there that people, you know, I get calls and emails all the time, you know, Barbara, you need to do this story, you know, this is really impacting me. And I really, if any of you have emailed or called, I really try to get back to everyone.
Right.
Sometimes my email isn't too reliable. I'm just going to say that right now. But, you know, there are so many important stories out there to be told. I mean, one thing is for certain, we all care about our health. So that's why I do
There's
the job I do.
nothing worse than having bad health.
Oh,
nothing worse.
Ask anyone who has bad health.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, there's nothing that can. You can deal with anything else, but if you
it can cause depression, despondency, hopelessness, helplessness,
Yeah.
and that can reel you down to a whole different path.
No doubt, no doubt. What's the best story you ever did?
Oh,
Did
my
you have
goodness.
one or two or three?
Oh, I have so many. One that was memorable for me was Rhode Island Hospital allowing me to spend 2 nights in their emergency department
Really?
and kind of capture all the people that were coming in. And I have to
Watch
tell,
them being cut and everything?
yeah,
Oh, God.
but people coming in with stab wounds, gunshot wounds. One guy who was sitting next to me, and I think he was high, he was just here the whole time, and all of a sudden he lunged with superhuman strength and got very aggressive. Within seconds, there were whole security details there, getting him, containing him, bringing him to a room, because you know that can be very disruptive in an
Sure.
ED where there are a lot of sick people and they're out on carts. So just to see the inner workings there, how they're prepared for something like that, how the social workers have to talk to people who might have lost a loved one. And you have to go out there.
God, I can't imagine.
And how do they deal with it? Because that has to wear on you day in and day out. The surgeons, it was a big eye-opener for me. And for that one, I got actually a national award. My photographer, Paul Tierney, and I from the American Academy of Emergency Physicians, which was really, it felt good.
Yeah.
It felt good. But it was, we can say, oh, why do we wait so long in the emergency room? Oh, this emergency room is horrible. But until you see what is actually going on in that emergency room, it's hard to point fingers.
When they have to decide what case they take.
They triage them, and even though you're like, well, I ripped open my arm, there's a heart attack and a stroke and a gunshot wound victim and a stabbing victim. They take precedence over you.
Sure.
So now when I go to emergency room, I try not to question. I mean, we all get antsy. We just want to get it in and out. But what they're dealing with behind the scenes is just amazing.
Right.
So I have, kudos to all of you who work in emergency
I have
departments.
the utmost respect for medical staff, especially nurses. Especially nurses. 'Cause they get all the...
They're the bedside warriors.
They get all the short end. The doctors get the glory. They get the short end.
I think people are recognizing that nurses are the people.
No, really. When you're sick and you're in the hospital, you see your doctor once a day, maybe if you're lucky. You see the nurses all the time.
Yep, they have the bedside care. So
they're the ones you got to deal with. Or
absolutely.
They have to deal with you.
Yeah, they have to deal with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a good patient.
I was going to ask you that. Having just had the knee replacement last year.
I was a good patient for that. It was giving birth to my 3 children that I was a horrible patient.
Really?
Yeah, the nurses were like, you need to calm down. I'm like, I was not a good patient. Yeah. The knee was much better.
They didn't give you the meds?
No, they did.
Yeah?
They did.
And you still was a bad patient.
Yeah, I think they took too long to give it to me, so I got a little rabid, and that was probably wrong. But that's when I'm not a good patient. I hate pain, and then I calm down afterwards, and they're like, okay, you're okay now. But I'm sure they get it from a lot of other women. It's not just me.
Right.
It's just a lot of pain. I hear it's similar to passing kidney stones.
Oh God!
So if anyone, that's pretty darn bad.
It's sure. Christmas morning, I passed kidney stones one year, and I thought I was having the big one.
Okay. So
I went in the shower, and I actually was sweating in the shower. That's how bad it was.
So now you kind of get an idea.
Yeah, that's what birth is. Childbirth's like.
I guess I've never had a kidney stone.
Oh, I thought you had.
No, but I'm just saying. I'm thinking it's probably similar to that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it's bad enough. That's enough for me, the kidney stone. But then again, I've had 5 back operations too, so that's not fun.
Yikes! No, I have had 0, and I hope to continue that.
Yeah, that's not fun at all. So give me one more story, one more.
Oh gosh, a memorable story. There's so many of them.
All right, let's go to your kids. We got 3 kids, right?
I do.
All daughters? Are they all daughters?
No, I have a son. He would be offended by that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I remember, maybe you don't, you were on this show. It had to be, how old's your oldest?
34.
It had to be
Marissa.
20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You were living in Pawtucket.
Mm-hmm.
And my show aired live in Pawtucket. Do you remember what I'm going to tell you about?
No, you're going to remind me, though.
Of course I am. It was one of the funniest stories. one of the funniest incidents, I should say. We're taping a live show, and your phone rang. Your phone was over there in your pocketbook. And I go, whose phone's ringing? And you go, that would be me. I said, grab that pocketbook. And they brought it over. I said, no, I want it. And I took the phone, and I answered the phone. It was your daughter. And they were watching the show. Do you remember that now?
So it was Marissa.
And I said, do you know we're on TV now? She goes, yeah, I'm watching you. I said, well, this is not the time to be calling your mother when she's on TV.
They still do that, by the way.
Really?
It's like, don't you know I'm on TV? Oh, I forgot.
Oh.
Yeah, but I don't have my phone on the set, but when I come back in the newsroom, I see that it's blown up between 6 and 6:30. Let's see, when might Mom be on TV? Between 6 and 6:30.
And it's only been 24 years, so.
I know, 24 and a half. 24 and a half. So, yeah, they're all doing well. Marissa is in a band. They're called the Benjis. They're amazing. They're an alt-rock band.
Where do they play?
They play everywhere. They play at News Cafe in Pawtucket. They play at the Parlor. They play, there are so many places, and the Met.
That's right near my house.
Okay. Well, they play at all these places. They're awesome. They were voted best breakout band in Motif magazine.
Really?
So very proud of them.
What's the name of it again?
The Benjis.
The Benjis.
You should have them on your show.
I
They're
would. I love to.
pretty amazing. My son is.
You could make that happen.
I have some connections. Yeah. And my son is out in LA. He's a production assistant, so he's worked on The Voice and like Winter Olympics commercials and Summer Olympics commercials and different things.
Wow,
so
that's impressive.
He's kind of like, the grunt who does all the errands for the stars, but this is how you work your way up to being a director, which is what my brother does. He's a director out there. So he and my brother actually worked on Blake Shelton and Garth Brooks' The Deep End of the Dive Bar, their music video.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty cool song. It makes me laugh. So they worked on that music video. And then my youngest just graduated from Kent State in Ohio.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so.
You've done all right.
I think,
You've done all right.
I'm a proud mama.
Yeah, and well, you should be.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great.
Yep, I've accomplished 3 beautiful things.
Yeah. And they're all out of the house.
No.
No?
No.
Well.
One is.
Oh, the middle one.
The LA one is. The middle
be
one's out of the house.
Yeah.
The other 2,
they come and go.
In time.
Yeah.
In time. They need to get their.
Well, how old's your youngest?
23.
23.
Mm-hmm. She's my little baby.
Wow.
Yeah. So I can't complain. Life is good. I wish I had like some really meaty, juicy kind of drama for you. I have nothing.
No.
I got nothing,
well, that's
Bob.
good. That's good. No,
I know.
I like to hear that.
I know.
That's nice. That's nice to hear. That's refreshing.
I know. Love to go to work. Love my kids. Yeah.
And you love working for Channel 10.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Yeah.
Well, you got great people over there. You really do.
Thank you.
You really do.
I
You got
think
some
so too.
Great people. I've had just about everybody on. There's only one person on Channel 10 that's been there any amount of time that I haven't had on my show.
Who?
Only one. Who could it be?
Patrice?
Yes.
Oh, we'll have to change that.
She's the only one. The only holdout.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to her.
I got 1 or 2 of the new ones that haven't been on, but none of anybody that's been there any amount of time.
Wow.
They've all been on the show.
Wow. I'll have to give her a mention, give you a mention.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah.
What are we, out of time? My
It
God.
just flew by, didn't it?
That's crazy. You're such a joy to have around.
Thank you, Bob.
It was just great seeing you.
Thank you.
I was so happy I ran into you.
I know, right? You never know where you're going to run into me.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that goes both ways,
That's true. That's true.
Well, I'm glad you stopped by.
Thank you, Bob.
I'm glad you shared a couple of stories with us.
Yeah, I've got a few.
And don't be a stranger. We got to have your back.
Okay, Bob.
All right?
Okie dokie.
All right. Get your daughter. Get your daughter's band.
I
on
will.
here.
I will.
We'll wait. Make that happen.
Okay.
And maybe even Patrice, too.
Okay.
All right.
On the same show.
Well, we'll be right back on An Hour with Bob. I'll see you in a little while. Hang on. All right, folks, we're back on An Hour with Bob with another friend from a ways back. I've known him a long time. Longer than I think longer than I knew Barbara Morse. And it's the mayor the first mayor of the city of Providence. For years and years, they had a town administrator, but this year they got a mayor. This in last year, right? When did you, Bob DaSilva? I should welcome him to the show.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the invite. I I appreciate the opportunity to come and talk to you and your viewers today. Thank you.
It's interesting to see your career. I mean, I watched you grow from, I believe I took your picture when you became a police officer in the city of Pawtucket. And that was when, 92, 93? 1993.
That's right. I used to patrol the Woodlawn area.
Yes, you did.
And you lived over in the neighborhood. You were one of the good guys. Always have been. But yeah, it was a long time ago. It seems like a long time. 25 years goes by real quick.
It sure does. As we get older, it really goes by fast.
That's right. That's right.
So think about this. I mean, you don't have to because you lived it, but I'm thinking about it. You started as a police officer. Mm-hmm. You grew up where? Providence?
Grew up in Providence, yes.
And you were a police officer up until when?
Actually, I retired this year in January.
Oh, really?
Yes. Yes.
As a captain?
That's correct.
Wow.
Look, Pawtucket gave me a wonderful opportunity. I was a young man. I wanted to be a police officer. I was trying out at different municipalities at the time. And Pawtucket gave me my first opportunity. Yep. I had been working in Woonsocket as a police reserve at the time. But when I had the chance to take the position with Pawtucket, I thought it'd be a great fit for me because the community was a community I could see myself growing in.
Right.
And it was a great place to work, and I was very fortunate, a lot of great people to work with, and I moved up the ranks and finally retired this year.
As a captain?
As a police captain, yes. So I've had a very fortunate career. That's correct.
And while you were a police officer, you became a state rep.
That's right. That's right. So
From where? Where were you a state rep?
So I was a state rep in East Providence. I know you said the first mayor of Providence. It was the first mayor of East Providence.
I did say Providence,
yes,
didn't I?
Did.
Yeah.
But first mayor of East Providence. I moved into the community in 1997. At the time I was single. I was looking for a home, and I found a beautiful home in East Providence in the Kent Heights neighborhood.
Where is that? Where's Kent Heights?
Kent Heights would be, it's centrally located. If you know the area behind the Rite Aid, which is now, I think it's now Walgreens, that area back there where the water tower is. It's a kind of from Warren Avenue.
I was just going to say Warren Avenue.
Warren Avenue all the way down to Wampanoag Trail.
Right.
And to the west of Pawtucket Avenue. So that whole area, that neighborhood. But we moved in there in 97. I moved in there in 97. Became involved in the community in East Providence. And, in 2009, I decided to run for office, and I did. And I ran for state rep, and I served 2 terms. It was a good experience. I learned a lot. Yeah. And I feel I contributed quite a bit. I was able to bring a different perspective to the job. One of the key pieces of legislation that I'm proud of was that we passed and that I led the charge on was the domestic strangulation bill. As a police officer, I used to see a lot of domestic violence victims.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Come before us, and if a partner were to strangle or try to choke out an individual, back then it was a misdemeanor charge. And I just.
What do you mean if a partner tried to?
So if a domestic relation partner were involved in a confrontation where they were strangling or trying to attempt to choke somebody, we used to get those cases before us, and I'd look at it and I was like, we can't charge them with anything more severe. And at the time, you can only charge them with a misdemeanor. Right. So I was.
Which is like a parking ticket.
Which is it's a minor. It's a much minor offense than what we wanted to get it to, and we ended up getting it to a felony. And so we were able to rally a lot of the domestic violence advocates to come and tell their story. And we fortunately made that a law here in Rhode Island, which I feel probably has protected, we'll never know exactly the numbers, but I'm certain it's protected quite a few people from a bad situation.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. Well, you've seen a lot in your years as a police officer.
Yes, I have, and I still. And it's only been a short while since I've been. It's been 10 months really since I left the job.
Now, do you miss it?
I do. I miss the people. I miss I miss the work. But it's not, I don't sit and think about it on a regular basis, but like if I come across one of my former colleagues,
Sure.
you know, if we're talking about the job, it brings back the memories. But I've been so busy being mayor that I don't
Yeah.
really have much time to miss that.
Yeah.
So it's been a good transition.
What have you liked most about being mayor?
I think, well, being mayor, it's similar. I always tell people it's very similar to being a police officer in a way, in that you're confronted with different decisions that need to be
Right.
made, different situations. Sometimes we'll come into work and an emergency situation will have arisen over the weekend and we have to deal with it. So really, I mean, I think my time as a police officer really has helped because it's decision making, looking at all the facts, putting it together, and making the right decision.
Right.
And what I like most about my job is I'm still doing what I was doing as a police officer, and that's working with the community, trying to help people.
Right.
You know, people call us all the time with whatever the issues may be, and we try to intervene and see if we can get them on the right path. Coming up with good policies that are going to benefit the city, to advance development, coming up with just the right vision for the city.
Speaking of development, you got some development going on in East Providence.
We really do, yeah. We're very lucky. Yeah. We're situated in a really good position for continued growth. So
Well, you're right. You got a waterfront there that has been underutilized and undeveloped for decades. I've always said that was a great area.
it's about 14 miles of raw land.
Is it really?
Yes, that can be waterfront land that can be developed. And in addition to that, we were fortunate to get from Senator Reed a $54 million grant that's going to build the Henderson Bridge. Most people call it the Red Bridge.
Yes.
All right. So we're going to be, DOT is going to be redeveloping that and rebuilding that bridge, and it's going to open up additional land, acres of land that will
When you say redevelop, what are they going to do to it?
So the Henderson Bridge the Henderson Bridge was designed to be almost like 195. It was an expressway. So if you look at it, it's 3 lanes one way, 3 lanes another way.
Right, and it dies. And I was over today, actually.
Yeah.
I was over today.
And it's people, you know, for
It
people,
dies on the east side of Providence.
It dies right there. Now, what that was supposed to be originally was an expressway similar to Route 195. And it was supposed to connect, I believe, to the highway, but
Right.
that project was way back in the day and it never materialized. And so what you have now is you have a bridge that's sitting there that's highly deficient. It needs to be replaced. We were fortunate to get federal money. The state was fortunate to get federal money from through Senator Reed in his push for it. And the goal is to rebuild the bridge, but to downsize it. Instead of having it
3 lanes on each side?
it's going to be 2 lanes with a bike path, walking path. And what will happen is on the East Providence side, because we have a lot of the on-ramps, if you take a look at, if you look at a Google map, you'll see all those on-ramps.
Right.
All of those on-ramps are going to become empty land because we're not going to need that anymore. The bridge will come over into East Providence and will connect directly to Waterfront Drive, which we don't have that connection right now.
Waterfront Drive.
Waterfront Drive is the road in East Providence that the waterfront is on.
Right.
And that's where.
Over near Washburn Wire? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, that's part of it. That's on the other side, but Waterfront Drive goes all the way down to East Providence Yacht Club.
Oh, okay.
Al's on the waterfront.
Right. Yeah.
So a lot of that land along Waterfront Drive is ripe for developing. In addition, a very large piece of land was recently purchased by Live Nation. Live Nation operates the Bow Point Concert Series that we've had in East Providence now for 3 years. And
They operate a lot of concerts at a lot of venues around the country.
around the country, yes. They've got a great venue up in Boston that they want to build something similar.
Right.
Here. It's going to be like an open air concert venue, permanent venue,
Like an amphitheater.
like an amphitheater type situation on our waterfront, which we believe wholeheartedly will lead to further development of the waterfront. As
sure.
it is, I can tell you right now that with the Bow Point Concert Series that we've been having, we've had developers who've come down. For instance, there's an old car dealership on Wampanoag Trail, and a developer came in with plans. He wants to turn it into, I think it's 23 units. He's going to put a second floor on it. And one of his driving factors was that he's going to try to build these units to attract the mid-20s young professionals.
Right.
And one of the things that he said that motivated him to come here was what's going on in Bow Point.
Right.
He wants to attract younger people they have that entertainment venue there. Also, our beautiful bike path, which is one of the best bike paths in the state, I believe. And then the proximity to
the water.
To the water, and the proximity to some of the restaurants and bars that are already on the area. You have the Black Duck, which is a great restaurant. You've got the 133 Club, which is right around the corner. So this property, with its proximity to the highway, I mean, it's going to be ideal for a young professional who may be working in Boston, can't afford to live in Boston, but they have a great location right here, right here in East Providence. So we want to, we love speaking about all the great things going on in East Providence, and that's one of them, is what's going on the waterfront. We're excited.
Yeah, and well, you should be.
Well, thank you.
You came at a good time, actually.
I really did. I walked into some positive things. What we have been able to do in our short time, it's only been 10 months, there's a building called the Oddfellows Home. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
The Oddfellows.
Oddfellows Home. So
Oddfellows Home.
Oddfellows Home is a beautiful old building that's been boarded up for, I think, a couple of decades.
And where is that?
It's right at the entrance, at the gateway to the waterfront. When you're taking the Warren Avenue exit from 195, and you come off the exit, and the Comedy Connection is right there.
Right there.
If you're at the off ramp and you look across the way, you'll see this big building that's boarded up. Well, that building has been an eyesore and a distraction with all the positive things going on in the city for quite some time. And when I came into office, my first directive to our community development officer was, hey, let's do whatever we can. We've got to get this thing sold. And we were fortunate that we recently signed a bill of sale, a sales agreement with the new owners. And the goal is to develop the building, preserve its historical look, and add on the first floor level some type of cafe, restaurant type thing, which will complement all the other venues that are going on.
Right.
So we're very excited about that.
So that's right near the East Providence Yacht Club you're talking about.
It would be it's right at the gateway. So if you were to take a right turn at the exit, then that's to go to the yacht club, and right directly diagonally from the off ramp is that building. It's called the Oddfellows Home. It's at the corner of Burgess and Warren Avenue. But it's going to be a great addition to all the other positive things going on in our waterfront with that new development, that new apartments. Then
What's that big development there you got over there?
Kettle Point?
Kettle Point,
Oh, goodness. Kettle Point. So, I can't take credit for anything that happens with Kettle Point because that was way before my time. But I got to give credit to the people who were involved. And it was the people on the Waterfront Commission. Bill Fazioli, who's been a chairman of the Waterfront Commission for quite some time, we just hired him in the city as our Director of Planning and Economic Development, which is a huge win for our community. I think having him on board with all the background and knowledge that he has in not only finance but development and the waterfront projects is going to be great. But that Waterfront Commission really set the platform for everything that happened at Kettle Point. Kettle Point was built with the help of a TIF, which is a tax incremental financing. So basically what that means is the city agrees that a certain percentage of the tax revenue that's generated will go to help to build the infrastructure. So we mean public infrastructure like the sewer, the water, sidewalks, roads. Yeah. Because it was an old contaminated piece of property with no roads, and now you take a look down there. These places are selling quickly as soon as they get them built. They're either sold or rented because it's mixed development there. You have apartments that are being built, and then you also have condominiums. And the condo units, we just had one recently sell for about $750,000.
Really?
Which is impressive, yeah.
That is impressive.
And that's the Bakari Group. Bakari Group is involved in developing that land, and they've done a tremendous job. And, I often take, when people are looking at East Providence as a place to develop, I'll take them down to that
Kettle
place,
Point,
to Kettle Point. And then you've got University Orthopedics, which is another great partner. Having them right there is fantastic. So it's a lot of positive things going on. Very excited.
Well, that's good for the tax base.
It really is. It really is. It really is. And you know what we're finding? I know that Mayor Lorza gets upset at me, but a lot of the people that are moving into these people are people from the east side. They're downsizing. They're downsizing their homes, and they're looking to move into a nice apartment. The apartments are going like crazy. You can't.
And the taxes are a little more affordable.
Well, I don't want to say. We do have a good tax base. And the taxes are not too high here.
Well, I know the taxes on the east side of Providence are pretty steep.
Well, I can't speak to that.
But I can.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
So what else is going on? What else you got in East Providence that's happening?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of positive things going on. One of the things I'd like to see us get built for the city is a recreation center. So twice.
Where would you like that to be built?
I'd like to build this. I'd like to build it on the senior center property. Currently, the senior center is located in the center of the city, not far from the new high school that we're building, which is going to be another.
Well, there's another big,
a lot
big
of
deal.
a lot of big projects. So the new high school is slated to be complete in about 2 years. We hope, if everything goes to schedule. But that alone is going to attract people into our community. I just see the development on the waterfront, with more residential units being built.
Right.
This brand new high school is going to attract young families into our city. Because as you may know, and I know for a fact, is when you're looking for a place to set roots, you're thinking about where's the school?
Where's the school?
What's the school look like? Is it a good school system?
I moved when I got custody of my son Zachary years ago. I moved to East Greenwich just to put him in the school system.
And people make decisions based on
I
the school.
absolutely made a decision based on the school.
And so we're so excited about this school. We think it's going to be an incredible economic boon to our city.
But was that right next to the school, the existing school, right?
Right behind it, yes.
Right behind it,
They're
yeah.
building it right behind it. And there's going to be some nice new fields. It's going to be an integrated school, so your career and technical students will be in with your academic
that's a good
students.
idea.
It really
That's
is.
a good idea.
Because, honestly, I think we as a society have put way too much emphasis on college.
Absolutely.
And we're finding now that the trades
The plumbers make more money than the lawyer and some doctors, actually.
you can't fill the trades now.
Yep.
And there's a shortage of people with trades expertise.
Absolutely.
And how nice is I was speaking to a gentleman who was telling me about his son who went through the CTC in East Providence, and I think he was an electrician. And the young man's going to come out and apprentice, because with some union, and he's going to be making more money than
As an apprentice.
than most people are making. He's not going to have all the college loans and
Right.
debt. And in a few years, he'll be a full-fledged electrician.
They'll be making $48 an hour, 50, whatever they make.
Yeah, I think what's good about this new school is that you're putting the trades on equal footing as everything else, as academics.
And well, it belongs that way, because I can remember when I went to college, I mean, the prices have gone ridiculous.
I know.
When I went to school.
I have a son who's in college now, and he's doing wonderful, but it's expensive. It's expensive.
Extraordinarily.
And sometimes it's out of reach for people, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But as far as the recreation center, that's something that I really want to emphasize, because twice the voters were asked to approve a bond to build a recreation center, and twice it passed.
Oh, it passed.
Now, this was many, many years ago.
Right.
The prior administrations never took action on the
Really?
voters' will. They never did. So
Well, that's unusual, isn't it?
it was unfortunate that it happened, but it's something that did occur, and so.
Because I thought you were going to tell me that they denied, they turned it down, but the fact that they passed it and the city administration decided not to follow through with it is strange.
And that's what happened, on 2 occasions in the city of East Providence. I think people in East Providence deserve a first-rate recreation center,
Sure.
someplace where you can be proud of. And I think we can get it done. So we're going to look at, hopefully within the next couple of years, come up with a plan where we can actually build something like that for our people.
Well, I can see why it would get done now for 2 reasons. One, because of the change in the form of government in East Providence, going from a town administrator type government to a mayor, and just your personality that it's going to happen.
I appreciate that.
No, I see that. I'm not blowing smoke.
I appreciate it, Bob. It definitely makes a difference. I think, having the accountability that you have now, I'm accountable to the people.
Right. Whereas the town administrator was a is that what they call it? Town
City
manager. Town
manager,
manager.
yeah.
City manager. That's right. It was a city, not a town. He was accountable, or she was accountable to the council.
The council, that's correct.
Because that's who hired them.
That's correct.
Whereas you're elected by the people.
And I'll tell you, I'll give you one of the examples that have been brought up recently in our budget debates and talks. So capital improvement items would be put together in a plan. And because you had so many transition of leadership, you always had a change.
Right.
A lot of these projects kind of languished and never got followed through on.
Right.
Same thing goes with, unfortunately, the people's request to build a recreation center for the community. Twice it was voted on, twice it passed,
Right.
and twice it was never delivered. And the reason for that is because the people who were running the city managers, were not accountable to the people. You know, they didn't have to follow through on the people's
Right.
will, which I am. I'm accountable to the people. And, you know, I see it as a parent. I've got a son who's in 8th grade at Martin Middle School. I've got another son who's 18. So having been a coach, I see that we don't have the amenities that other communities have.
Right.
And I don't think we should be in that situation. With all the great things going on in East Providence, with a new school, with the development, new housing stocks being built, you want to keep the recreational things top notch.
And they should be, yeah.
And they should be, because that's another thing that drives people into a community.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
it's something that, like, one of the things that we're putting some work into now is our Pierce Stadium, which is a historic building.
It is.
Beautiful building.
Great. I've gone to many Thanksgiving Day games there.
It's a beautiful building, and a lot of the people in East Providence are very, very proud of that stadium, and we've started doing some work in it. You know, we're hoping that when you come down to your next game, you'll see this remarkable difference. You'll be like, wow, it's a facelift that we haven't seen in quite some time.
Really? And even the Heritage Festival they have there every year.
You know, Albuquerque and her team have been running this Heritage Festival for years and years now, and it's incredible. I actually met with her the other day. You know, we want to see this thing continue and to succeed. You know, it's not easy to keep something going. How many years have you been doing this now?
27.
27 years.
Yeah.
So that's a legacy in itself, right? Putting
Yeah.
27 years in. I believe they've been doing the Heritage Festival for 20 some odd years also.
Sure.
And it's not easy, because as years go by, they need more and more volunteers. So here's a
yeah.
call out to people, you know, who want to get involved with the Heritage Festival. Albuquerque, she's on Facebook. She's somebody you should look out to and see if you can help, you know, volunteer for anybody out there.
Say it again?
Albuquerque.
Albuquerque?
Yeah, she runs the. She's one of the people who are involved with putting it together. So it's a great event every year.
I know. They bring big acts in, too.
They do. Yes.
Some of the 50s and 60s and 70s acts they've had in there.
That's right.
It's pretty impressive to
And
get them in East Providence.
And it's always a fun event. Different food, different craft vendors, different
Yep.
things going on. So
Yeah,
we are proud
many
of that.
years I've been to that. Many years.
Yeah.
And how about down by the old Crescent Park?
Well, that's something that we're hoping we get some approval on, some capital improvements. So in my budget, I requested some money to do some improvements at the carousel. The Crescent Park Carousel is a national treasure.
Absolutely.
Beautiful facility, beautiful ride. Needs a lot of work, upkeep, maintenance, of
Well,
course.
it takes a lot of work.
Takes a lot of work. And the other thing we're looking to do is add new infrastructure to the property. So right now, Blount Clam Shack, the seafood.
Yeah, it was there a couple of weeks ago.
Well known. People
Yep.
come from all over the place to eat
Clam
there.
cakes and chowder.
Beautiful place. However, they've outgrown the facility that they're working out of. It's too
Right.
small. Doesn't allow them to service the public in the way that they should.
Right.
So
Right.
we're hoping that the council will approve the requested infrastructure improvements that we're asking for. We're asking to build a new facility for them on our property there, so that they can have more of a restaurant feel,
Right.
a bigger space, so that they can continue delivering that type of product a little bit more than just a few months a year. Hopefully they'll go a little bit longer.
And a little bit faster, too.
A little bit faster too, right? Yes, because they're limited on what they can do.
I know, exactly. It's a small kitchen. I haven't been in the restaurant business, I know that. And
Yeah.
I've been over there and I discussed it with some guy over there, was talking
It's
with.
tight. It's tight for them to work too.
sure is.
They're concerned, you know, it's a little too tight for them to move around. One of the other things we'd like to see out there is you know, we have the carousel, but then in the wintertime things slow down there.
Right.
We'd love to bring out an
Skating?
outdoor ice skating rink. You know,
Gee, how did I guess that?
I don't know. Did you see it somewhere?
No.
But I know that the public wants it.
Right.
You know, speaking to people, they want that there. They think it'd be a great idea. So once again, we just have to hope that the council will approve it, and if they do, we'll move forward with doing what we have to do for it.
Well, you got to grab the council from that district and bring them in and give them a talking to them.
Yeah, we'll have a conversation. We'll have
Yeah,
a
there you
conversation.
go. You got-
And we have a great council. It's not an easy job. Our city is a pretty large city. We've only got 5 council people, so they've got a lot of.
There's only 5.
There's only 5, and they've got a big area to.
There's no like at large. They're all.
One at large.
Only
and-
one?
and
Really?
4.
That's strange. That's different.
It's different.
Pawtucket has 9.
Right, and other municipalities, like, you know, you look at much smaller municipalities, they have 5. I think East Providence would benefit by having a couple of more at large, perhaps. You know.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah.
One at large. That's like like the second mayor.
Right. Yes. He's a
Right?
good guy too. Yes.
Yeah,
Bob's a good guy.
Because he
runs.
just like you do, citywide.
Citywide. That's correct.
That's
correct.
odd.
Yeah.
And only one of them that does that.
Only one. Yeah. But I mean, look, you're going back years and years and years when this was all set up. Is this something worth looking at as a council? Maybe the council should take a look at that and say, you know what? Let's do a study. Let's see if it's worth moving to a 7-member council.
Now, how do they get? Doesn't have to go before a voter.
You'd have to change.
voters
You would have to change
the
the charter.
charter. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be something that could be done. If that's, I mean, I'm just bringing this up in conversation.
Sure.
But it's something that has
Well,
been
it kind of
brought up.
makes sense.
Well, it's been brought up before, even at one of my debates when I was running for office. That question came up, and I just think it makes sense because when you have 4 wards, it's a lot of area to cover for one person. You know what I'm saying? So maybe breaking it down into having, smaller wards or maybe more at large. Maybe that would work. I don't know.
I think the at large makes more sense because having just one at large doesn't make sense to me.
Well,
Even if you had 2 at large, split the city up in half. You give them half the city each.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, something.
Or have them both run citywide. Have them both run throughout the city.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I think it could. I think it could make sense. But and the other thing, real quick, I know we're running short on time, but real proud of the fact that we rolled out this new software called OpenGov. It offers transparency on our budget, so the people can now go online, look at OpenGov. They'll be able to see everything that's going on budgetary-wise with our budget.
And how do they do that? What do they
They
get
go to our website. They go to the City of East Providence website. They'll have a link on there. The second phase of it hasn't been rolled out yet, but the second phase will actually break down all line items of spending of what's going on in the city. Riverside.
Well, that's part of you. That's part of your initiative.
It is. We're trying to make us more transparent. I want people to understand where their money is being spent and how it's being spent, and that's one of the things that I ran on. And the other thing is we're looking at making some improvements at Riverside Square. We've got some grant money that's going towards that, and hopefully we'll see some nice improvements on the landscape at Riverside Square. It's one of the areas in our city that needs some attention. It's made some great advances. Borealis Coffee has been very successful.
I'm trying to picture the place.
That's right by Dairy B on the bike path. I don't know if you know the bike path down there, but it's really we hope to see some of this streetscaping that they're going to do bring some new life to the area. So we're excited about that also.
Well, it sounds like it's a pretty exciting city to be in. You got a lot of activity going on there.
I appreciate that, and my hope is to market us like a business. I want to get
That's
the word
what you
out.
should. That's right.
Market us like a business.
Absolutely.
Let people know of the good things going on. I take trips. People invite me. Some of the businesses invite me to come in and see what they're doing. I had the pleasure of taking a trip on IGUS, is one of the local businesses here. Colonial Mills moved over to East Providence recently. So there's a lot of manufacturing going on in East Providence. People may not be aware of it. I get invited by these people to come and check it out, and I put it on my Facebook post so people can see it. I'm proud of what's going on here in East Providence. I want people to see all the positive progress that's going on, because if you're thinking of moving somewhere and you want to build a business, we want you to come to East Providence.
Sure. That's kind of like we did. Me and the Lieutenant Governor went all around the state.
Yeah.
Every city in town. We went to businesses in every city in town in the state of Rhode Island.
I think it's good to know. This way you get to see what's going on in your neighborhood, in your city. But I think also the people who invested in your community, took the chance on your community, appreciate the fact that the city leaders
the money's
are coming.
being spending where it's being spent too.
Yes.
Yeah. They'll understand it.
Absolutely.
Well, sounds like you're having a good time too, right?
I'm
Are you enjoying yourself?
I am enjoying myself. Yes.
You getting any sleep?
It's a little bit, but it's it's a lot of work. I got to thank my wife Karina and my boys. I always make time to get to my son's soccer games.
Very important.
He plays for the middle school, and that's one of the things I still want to be very visible at.
That's the 8th grader.
8th grader, that's correct. And and my wife, God bless her, she didn't sign up to get involved in politics when she first met me, but she's been great, and she supports me, and she allows me to do the stuff that I have to do, which oftentimes takes me away from her on the weekends.
Yeah.
But
and in the evenings.
And in the evenings, right? I could be with her right now, Bob. So I'm here with you.
Well, I'll let you go early. So I'm glad you stopped by, though.
Bob,
I finally got you.
I know. And Bob, we really have known each other a long time, and you haven't changed much in all those years. You're still that same bubbly personality, always with a great smile. And I appreciate you inviting me to be here with you today.
Well, I'm glad you showed up.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we'll come back again.
And I'm proud to see that you've done well over there in East Providence.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And thanks for spending an hour with Bob.